Tony Morales had cleaned office buildings for 12 years, but Blackwood Corporate Tower was different. The 60-story skyscraper downtown paid double the usual rate for overnight janitors, which should have been his first red flag. "Why so much money?" Tony asked during his interview with the building manager, a thin woman named Ms. Carver who kept checking her watch nervously. "High turnover," she admitted. "The work can be demanding, but if you can stick it out for 6 months, there's a bonus. Most people don't last that long." Tony needed the money. His daughter's medical bills were piling up, and double pay meant he could finally get ahead. How hard could cleaning offices be? On his first night, Ms. Carver walked him through the basics. The building was mostly empty after 7 p.m., with only a few late workers on the lower floors. Tony's job was to clean floors 30-60, the executive suites that housed the biggest law firms and investment companies in the city. "Few simple rules," Ms. Carver said as they rode the elevator to the 30th floor. "Never use the elevators between floors 45 and 50. There's construction work, so take the stairs. If you hear phones ringing after midnight, don't answer them. And whatever you do, never clean the conference room on the 57th floor. It's been sealed off." "Why?" Tony asked. Ms. Carver's expression darkened. "Just don't. The key isn't on your ring anyway." She left him with his cart of supplies and a cell phone. "Call if there's an emergency. Real emergency, not just weird noises. Old buildings make sounds." The first few hours went smoothly. Tony cleaned executive bathrooms, vacuumed plush carpets, and emptied trash bins filled with expensive takeout containers. The views from the windows were incredible. The entire city spread out like a circuit board below. But around midnight, things started getting strange. Tony was cleaning the 42nd floor when he heard the first phone ring. It came from inside one of the corner offices, a sharp electronic trill that echoed through the empty corridors. He remembered Ms. Carver's warning and kept mopping. The ringing stopped after 30 seconds, then started again from a different office, then another. Soon it seemed like every phone on the floor was ringing in sequence, a cascade of electronic noise that followed Tony as he moved through the building. By 1 a.m., the ringing had stopped, but Tony could swear he heard voices coming from the offices he'd already cleaned. Conversations, laughter, the sounds of a busy workplace. But when he looked through the glass doors, the offices were dark and empty. On the 47th floor, Tony found something that made him pause. Wet footprints on the carpet leading from the elevators to one of the law firms. The prints were small, like a child's, and they disappeared under the frosted glass door of Hartman and Associates. Tony knocked on the door. "Hello? Building security?" No response. He tried the handle, but it was locked. Through the glass, he could see the outline of furniture, but something seemed off about the shadows. They were moving. That's when he noticed the smell, chlorine, sharp and chemical like a swimming pool. But they were 47 floors up. There was no pool in the building. Tony grabbed his phone to call Ms. Carver, but he had no signal. He tried the stairwell, same thing. It was like the building was blocking all communication. He decided to head up to the 50th floor, where Ms. Carver had said he could get better reception near the communication equipment. But when he reached the elevator bank, all 3 cars were stuck between floors 45 and 50, exactly where she'd told him not to go. Tony took the stairs, his footsteps echoing in the concrete stairwell. As he climbed, he could hear something else, splashing water and children's voices, echoing down from somewhere above. When he reached the 50th floor, Tony pushed through the stairwell door and found himself in what looked like an abandoned water park. The corporate offices were gone, replaced by empty pools, rusty water slides, and faded signs advertising Splash Zone Fun Center. This was impossible. Tony had seen the building's directory. The 50th floor housed a major accounting firm, not some defunct water park. But the evidence was right in front of him. Moldy changing rooms, a snack bar with prices from the 1980s, and 3 pools filled with black, stagnant water that reeked of chlorine and decay. In the largest pool, Tony saw them, dozens of children, translucent and pale, playing in the dark water. They splashed and laughed, their voices echoing off the empty walls, completely unaware that they were dead. One of them, a girl who couldn't have been more than 8, looked up at Tony and waved. "Mister, want to swim with us? The water's really warm." Tony stumbled backward, his cleaning cart crashing into a rusted lifeguard chair. The sound echoed through the space, and suddenly all the children stopped playing. They turned to look at him with hollow, waterlogged eyes. "He can see us," one of them whispered. "He's not supposed to be here," said another. The girl who'd waved began walking toward the edge of the pool, water dripping from her pale skin. "The grown-ups said we could swim forever, but we're lonely. Will you stay with us?" Tony ran. He crashed through the stairwell door and sprinted down the stairs, taking them 3 at a time. Behind him, he could hear the sound of wet feet slapping against concrete, getting closer. He didn't stop running until he reached the lobby. When he burst through the stairwell door, he found Ms. Carver waiting for him with a security guard. "You went to the 50th floor, didn't you?" she said, not sounding surprised. Tony could barely catch his breath. "There were children in pools. What the hell is that place?" Ms. Carver sighed. "Splash Zone Fun Center. Used to be here before they built the office tower. 23 children died in an accident. Chlorine leak poisoned the water. Construction company just built right over it instead of properly memorializing the site." "But I saw them," Tony insisted. "They were swimming, playing." "They always are," the security guard said sadly. "Every janitor who works the upper floors sees them eventually. The children don't understand they're dead. They just want someone to play with." Ms. Carver handed Tony an envelope. "Here's your pay for tonight, plus a bonus. I'm sorry, but you can't work here anymore. The children have taken an interest in you, and that's dangerous for everyone." "Dangerous how?" "The last janitor who saw them. We found him 3 days later in one of those empty pools on the 50th floor. Drowned in 6 inches of water with a smile on his face. The children thought he was playing a game." Tony took the money and left, but he couldn't shake the image of those pale, lonely children playing in their dark pools. Sometimes, late at night, he still hears their voices calling out, "Mister, want to swim with us?" The building management finally sealed off the 50th floor permanently 6 months later. But employees on the 49th floor still report hearing splashing sounds from above and finding wet footprints in the hallways after cleaning crews finish their rounds. Some games, it seems, never end.